In this tutorial, I'll bring you through the Mach1 Reaper template and how to use the Mach1 Spatial System within Reaper. I'll guide you through each of the channels, signal flow, and automation. So our first three tracks are audio, each set up for a different audio source: mono, stereo, and quad. Each of these audio channels have a Mach1 panner, so to see this, we hit the effects button, and we can see that this is a mono panner, this is a stereo panner, and this one is quad, which can also use Ambisonic's A or B format as a source. After that, we have a reverb effects bus that we'll get to in a minute. After that, we have the spatial mix bus. This is where all the channels above that we just mentioned are being routed to. Think of this as your mastering channel and where you'll bounce your mixes from post-effects. Let's go back up to an audio channel and start looking at channel configuration and routing. So we go up here to the route button. This is where you control I/O for each track. So first things first, the Mach1 Spatial System works in an 8-channel environment, so you have to make sure your track channels are 8 and your parent channels are 1 through 8. Also very important to make sure that no channel besides monitor and headlock stereo are going out the master send. So make sure that box is unchecked. Now if you look here, this is our send to the spatial mix bus. I'll delete it and show you how to correctly redo this routing. So we click Add New Send and select Spatial Mix Bus. Now we have to make sure we change the audio source section from 1-2 to multi-channel, 8 channels, 1 through 8. That routing is the same for all audio and effects buses. Let's check out where the 8-channel audio goes after the spatial mix bus and how we hear it in stereo. So here we are in the routing for the spatial mix bus. We can see the parent and track channels are 8, master send is unchecked, and over on the right we see all the receive from tracks. This is just whatever was routed to the spatial mix bus. Now we look over here to where this is being sent. We see a send to the monitor bus. Audio is multi-channel, 8 channels. I'll delete this send and redo it just so you can get comfortable with seeing this done. However, you should never need to change this. The spatial mix bus should always be routed this way. So we follow the signal to the monitor bus. We'll follow the routing first and then talk about the monitor plugin itself. As I said earlier, the only tracks that should be routed to the master send are the monitor bus and headlock stereo, which I'll talk about after this. So monitor is checked to go at the master send. Parent channels and track channels are 8 and 1 receive from the spatial mix bus. Now as it's labeled, this plugin and channel are just for monitoring your mix. This is how you look around your mix like you would experience it with head tracking headphones or a VR headset. The monitor plugin decodes the Mach1 8-channel audio to stereo. This has nothing to do with mixing or panning, it's just how you look around and are able to hear in stereo. So by this point we have spatial audio being routed through a mastering printing bus and sending to an 8-channel to 2-channel decoder that lets us look around our mix. For this last channel here we have a headlock stereo section. This is here so you can add elements that aren't spatial in your session, just regular audio, and make sure the mix between everything is right. This is the only other channel to be routed through the master send because it's not part of the spatial system environment. When you create your finals with Transcoder, there's a section you can drop in your headlock stereo. We'll get more into Transcoder a little later. Let's bring in some audio and do some simple panning. Here we bring in a mono audio track, a stereo audio track, and a quad audio track. Let's go ahead and route each track. Make sure our master send is unchecked. Change track channels and parent channels from 1-2 to 8 and 1 through 8. Let's add a send to the spatial mix bus. Make sure the audio is changed from 1-2 to multi-channel source 8 channels. Now let's add a mono Mach1 panner. We hit effects and select our panner. And we repeat this for each of the other channels. The only difference is the Mach1 panner should reflect the channel type of the source audio, mono, stereo, or quad. So now we have all the channels routed with a Mach1 panner, so let's individually pan these channels to a direction using rotation and divergence. Rotation and spread are self-explanatory. Divergence is the amount of signal isolated in a single direction. At 100% divergence, the signal is not audible in the opposite direction. And now we'll use monitor at the end of our signal chain to look around our mix and see what we have. Now that we understand the signal flow, let's get back into the audio channels and talk about how to automate panning. So here we have a video that we need to pan to. We can hit the overlay button in the panner and this overlay screen pops up. We place that over the video, and as we move the target, the parameters change within the panner. This allows us to follow something in a video, drop automation markers so the pan is directly where the object is in the space. So in Reaper, to get to the automation settings, you first go into your plugin, click the parameter button, effects parameter list, and show track envelope. For this, we'll select rotation. As you see, the envelope's automation line pops up below the audio channel.
They're all dead. There was bodies. Here, I just saw them. They're all dead. There was bodies. Here, I just saw them.
So now we have a mix that we like. We select the Spatial Mix Bus, go to File, Render, Source, Stems, Selected Tracks, Bounds, Entire Project, or you can use Time Bounds. Select Directory and File Name, and make sure the channels are 8, and hit Render File. So now we have a VR video as well as our spatial mix and Headlock stereo audio. We open Transcoder, which allows us to import these separate assets and export to whatever we want. There's a longer Transcoder tutorial that you can check out, but the basics come to this. Mach1 is a master delivery format, so you can import the Mach1 audio and downmix to any of these formats if they're needed by the project you're working on. So that was a basic intro for using the Mach1 spatial environment in Reaper, and a little walkthrough through the template.